Portugal is the most western country in Europe and has a fascinating and proud history that can be felt throughout the entire country. So let's explore some fascinating and interesting facts about Portugal. Hey guys, so thanks for joining me again on FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and this video has been requested for quite a while. I mean, quite a bit of you did request for us to do a video on Portugal. People like Ivanira LX, Sergio Maciera, as well as Martin Pereira. So I'm actually very interested in sharing this video with you, so let's actually start off with the facts right now. Afonso Henriques was the first king of Portugal in 1139, and Portugal remained a kingdom for nearly 800 years after that. Throughout this time, as other European nations had changes in their borders, different monarch empires, Portugal has remained simply Portugal. Also, Lisbon, Portugal's capital, which was called Olisipo at the time, is 4 centuries older than Rome and the second oldest European capital after Athens. Portugal was the world's first maritime power and the birthplace to some of the world's first explorers. During the Age of Discovery, Ferdinand Magellan was the first to circumnavigate the world. Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India, and Bartholomew Diaz was the first to sail around the southern tip of Africa, which he called the Cape of Storms, but is now called the Cape of Good Hope. And Álvares Cabral and others discovered Brazil, parts of Africa, and claimed them for Portugal. Now, did you know that half of the New World once belonged to Portugal? Portugal was one of the leading countries during the European exploration of the world during the 15th century. The Treaty of Tordesillas was signed in 1494 between the Portuguese Empire and the Crown of Castile, which is modern-day Spain. It divided the newly discovered lands outside Europe between themselves. This line of demarcation was about halfway between the Cape Verde Islands, already Portuguese, and the islands entered by Christopher Columbus on his first voyage. The lands to the east would belong to Portugal and the lands to the west to Castile. The Portugal half included Brazil, Africa, and Asia, making the Portuguese Empire the first global empire in history and one of the longest lived colonial powers, lasting for almost 6 centuries. Portugal's official name is the Portuguese Republic, and it's named after the country's second largest city, Porto. Porto is located a few hours driving from Lisbon. It's one of the most popular tourist destinations in the whole country, with beautiful architecture, and has been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, what's interesting is that this city has 2 official names, Porto and Oporto. So you might hear both when referring to the city. Now, the original borders of Portugal have stayed the same for almost 1,000 years. Now, this is huge considering both world wars took place in Europe. Although Portugal has lost its colonies over time, its territorial borders have remained unchanged. Other countries in Western Europe, like Germany, France, and Slovenia, have had their land and their borders change multiple times. This is not the case, however, when it came to Portugal. The city of Lisbon was struck by one of the most powerful earthquakes in European history on November 1st, 1755. The city of Lisbon was struck by a devastating earthquake, which was followed by a tsunami, as well as fires, and these fires burnt the city down. The 9.0 magnitude earthquake happened on All Saints' Day, and this was when churches in the city were filled with lit candles. So when the earthquake struck, the candles of course fell over and started major fires. And over 100,000 people lost their lives, and over 85% of the buildings were destroyed. And I want to touch on the Portuguese style of music now. So that style of music is called Fado. Fate is a common thing in the Portuguese culture, and this is clearly noticed in the traditional music Fado. Fado actually means fate or destiny. Fado music is characterized by sad tones and lyrics. Most songs are about the life of the poor with an undertone of resignation and hopelessness. Fado music has been recognized by the UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage, and that happened in the year 2012. And also, did you know that Portuguese is the official language of 10 countries, including, of course, Portugal, Brazil, Cape Verde, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, Equatorial Guinea, Macau, East Timor, as well as the country of Sao Tome and Principe. The Portuguese language is spoken by over 230 million people worldwide, and it's a result of the fact that the Portuguese, like the British, were one of the first colonizers whose influence spread around the world. And Portuguese is the 9th most influential language in the world. Portugal was also the first European nation to engage in the transatlantic slave trade, taking slaves from West Africa to the New World. It was also the first colonial power to abolish slavery about 50 years before Britain, Spain, France, and the United States. Portugal and England have the oldest diplomatic alliance in the world. The Anglo-Portuguese Alliance, which was signed in 1373, is active till this day. The treaty was signed between King Edward III of England and King Ferdinand and Queen Eleanor of Portugal. Both countries entered wars to defend the other, including the United Kingdom entering the Iberian Peninsula War and Portugal entering World War I. Now, Portugal has a coastline that spans 497 miles, which is 800 kilometers, and it's known to have a year-long surf. And it's become Europe's favorite site for surfing. For any surfers watching this, you may want to book a trip to Portugal. Like I'm telling you, it's crazy. And you see, the Portuguese love football. Of course, many of you know this. So at the Euro 2016, Portugal won its first ever major trophy. Their national team also finished third in the 1966 World Cup, second in the Euro 2004, and fourth in the 2006 World Cup. However, they have not yet won the World Cup, but with FIFA 2018 coming up, Portugal's team with Cristiano Ronaldo as its captain is looking 100% for the gold. And that's all the facts that I have for you in this episode about Portugal. Hope it was an eye-opener and you learned something interesting. And if you thought this video was very informative, then you gotta see our other videos on Spain as well as our video on Italy. The links to those videos are both down below. Two more powerful European nations with a lot of exciting facts for you. We've been covering a lot more European facts in recent days, if you noticed. So there's so much more to talk about. And again, the links to those are down below. Europe is a fascinating place. Yeah, we love sharing these videos with you. But in closing though, Portugal is a country that is filled with loving and generous people who never hide their national pride. And with Portuguese being among the 10 most spoken languages in the entire world, it's a place where people have a lot to say, not only because of the unique culture of Portugal, but also the long-lasting history of the nation that will forever be remembered for generations to come. Before you guys head out, here's some videos that we highly recommend that you check out. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe because we post videos every single week sharing the most interesting facts about everything with you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you real soon.